In July 14, Ukraine Media Center starts its operation. My name is Svetlana Shaperka, and now we will be discussing the digital transformation of the forestry sector, the new tools of anti-corruption policy of the forestry innovation and analytical sector, and the state center and the state forest resources agency of Ukraine. And to discuss this topic, we have invited Viktor Smal, the head of the state forest resources agency of Ukraine, and Hamlet, Pohosian, Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Innovation and Analytical Center. Good afternoon, dear gentlemen. Good afternoon. So today, now, there are changes of information policies taking place in forestry sector. The security rules for handling of information are being updated and upgraded, and that's all happening within the framework of Ukrainian Euro integration and the change of the approaches and the legislation, which is supposed to be adapted to the European requirements. So please tell us a little bit more about the processes taking place, what has already been done, and what's still pending for us. Thank you for this question. First of all, thank you for having us. Pleasure being here with you. Thank you for this opportunity to use your platform. So today we will discuss this sector in general, the change of information policies, and the way it's related to Euro integration. So the reformation of the sector was inevitable, and it entails some facts that may turn out to be unpleasant for some. And one of the tasks we set for ourselves in the reformation of the sector is to change the attention to the processes that are related to adherence to the standards, to the ethics standards, and the adherence to the existing legislation. And now, as we have drawn attention to this process, we're getting some information that may turn out to be negative. And I would like to mention one of the episodes we had last year. So one of the consequences of the institutional reforms of the forestry sector was the establishment of the state enterprise. We had more than 40 different enterprises, 40 different state companies, and they were all united in one. And there was a department established, the Department of Internal Security, the purpose of which is to find violations. And during one of such episodes, we've established a potential connection between a number of companies within the sector. And we're looking at potential violations here that were committed by the employees of those companies. So today we are going to discuss the Innovation and Analytical Center, because that was a company that was one of the parts of such investigations. And for the time being, we can state safely that all of the materials of our internal investigations were handed over to the law enforcement right away. We are demonstrating maximum transparency and openness, as well as the Forestry Innovation and Analytical Sector. And for the time being, we may state that those materials that we handed over, they were transformed into the materials of pre-court investigation that is currently underway. And we may state that there is the State Investigation Bureau, along with the Office of the Prosecutor General, which are involved in this process. And the State Forestry Agency has taken steps to rectify those violations of the system that were accumulated within decades. So we've undertaken a decision to promptly work with those violations and to make relevant changes. So as soon as we found out about such abuses, specifically when it comes to information security, when it comes to data entry to our electronic databases, we fired the management of the state enterprise, the Forestry Innovation and Analytical Sector. We've appointed the new ones, and the task was to exercise better control over the entry of information to our electronic databases. We've performed a number of internal investigations as well as investigations with involvement of the law enforcement, the National Police of Ukraine, to get their better advice as the experts. And currently, the policies on information storage and information entry have been completely updated and upgraded in the State Enterprise, the Forestry Innovation and Analytical Center, so that all of the users are now able to understand what were the changes that were made. Now that we're having a lot of new legislation adopted, sometimes it may be difficult to sort it out. What are the requirements that are changing and how are they changing for the end user? So in the State Forestry Agency, we've picked a path to digitalization, no matter whether someone likes it or not, but we're stating that since 2021 we were performing some fundamental changes when it comes to information security and information handling. Now we're issuing the certificate for the origin of the forestry materials and their preparation, which is directly related to the export of the forestry products. On top of that, what has also changed? We've improved the electronic accounting of the forestry products, the lumber. Also, the effect of the electronic invoice was implemented, as well as photo recording of the loading of the forestry materials during their exports. We want to improve the transparency of the processes. We implement the global system on tracking of the lumber trucks all across the country, as well as declaration of operations with the lumber. As you could understand from the beginning of my speech, we have certain results of the operation of the obsolete, of the old systems. The Ukrainian system of lumber registration is a unique development. It's aimed at accumulating information about procurement and further sale of that lumber. For the time being, we have to recognize that it's an efficient instrument, but it's morally obsolete. It doesn't comply with all of the modern requirements, specifically when it comes to information security. And because of that, now we're working on the new generation, and this new generation is aimed at avoiding all of the possible abuses that may have existed before. It's a tactical level. Those are the problems that currently exist that we're discussing. Because at the level of a large sector, at the level of an everyday operations, we deal with some number of problems, and it's tactics. At the same time, at the strategic level, we have certain success, we have recognition on part of our European colleagues, and this is when we come to our Euro integration. And I can state that for the first time in history, just a month ago, Ukraine has gotten a status of a country with the low level of risk as an exporter of forestry products. And we're standing in a line with such countries as Denmark, Austria, Norway. It doesn't only mean recognition, but it means the facilitated regime of the export operations for our exporters. And it also means a simpler work on part of European Union, a part of their operations. I mean, the operations with our timber. I apologize. What is the organization that provides such a status? It's the European Commission. European Commission as a secretariat, such a conditional secretariat of the European Union, they actually keep track of fulfillment of our obligations. So what is taken into account as such status is being extended? The institutional changes, institutional capacity, institutional specificity of the sector, is the digital transformations and ability to track our experts that are coming to Europe that were officially procured, and also saving when it comes to timber preparation, because meanwhile there is an image that the Ukrainian forestry sector is not economic. The figures can demonstrate quite the opposite, because the last year it was only 15 out of 35 million of procurement. That's one of the lowest levels of growth of the annual augmentation level. And we may say that we have not only made a significant step in the direction of Europe, but we've proved to our European colleagues that the reforms that have taken place within that short period, they can be interesting for them as well in terms of implementation. And another proof of that is that we've gotten an official invitation during negotiations in Brussels that have taken place a month ago. We got an invitation to their conference that will take place in autumn, which will be attended by the controlling agencies of the European Union, who keep track of the lumber exports. So we hope that our developments will be useful not only for our internal market, internal consumption, but also for our European colleagues. Well, basically, I would like to give the floor to the Director General of Forestry Innovation and Analytical Center. And to finalize my speech, I would like to state that no matter what are the processes, no matter what is the phase of the reform of our sector, we are still intolerant, and we will continue being intolerant to any expressions of abuse or crime. That's our strict position. It may be unpleasant to discuss such processes that are taking place in our sector. I mean, the pre-court investigation is still going on. We don't know how it's going to be finalized, but there is a signal to the market, to us, to the participants of the market. We are completely intolerant to such expressions. We are building the best chain of transparency, and on this way, we have already gotten recognition from the European Union. Thank you.
Sir Hamlet, please, thank you for this opportunity. I would like to shortly touch upon the activity of our institution. Our Analytical and Innovation Center for Forestry of Ukraine is subordinated to the Forestry Agency of Ukraine. And we are working on implementation of the digitalization principles that were mentioned before by Viktor. And also we are focusing on the digitalization, on the trackability or traceability of the lumber that is transported around the territory of Ukraine or is exported abroad. There were cases when human factor was kind of an obstacle to the implementation of the digitalization of the digital system, and it created a disbalance in the operation of the Forestry Agency of Ukraine, and also it affects the the operation of the forestry in general as an entity, as a governmental entity. So that is why we have started a complete reset of our agency, Forestry Innovation and Analytical Center, and we have implemented the new legal architecture into, we developed and dozens upon dozens of different instructions and regulations that are controlling the way that the activities between the actors of the forestry field are interacting with each other. Separate attention was paid to the anti-corruption implementations of the new anti-corruption programs implementation that are that foresee to act until 2030, and our principal approach is complete reassessment of the principles of operation in order to gain back the trust of the operators of this industry, which is very important for us, not only in terms of anti-corruption activity, but also from the point of view of international integration, and in particular European integration into the European integration. Within the frame of the reforms that have happened recently in our agency, there was a lot of disciplinary and other measures that were taken in order to stabilize the operation of the agency. And the changes that we as technical administrators are conducting in this sphere, they are aiming at placing the verified and truthful information into the system. This also includes the development of relations between our agency and law enforcement agencies, and also sharing of the information that is needed to do so. So also we are open for the criticism. Please, we will happily listen to what you have to suggest, or any kind of commentaries are welcome. Also, what Mr. Igor mentioned before, the technical program for the deployment of the system, the program that was in place, it was morally obsolete, and we are working intensively right now on changing, transforming, reassessing, and improving this program. So we are starting with the technical requirements of the new system, the new digital system of traceability of the lumber. And sometimes we are facing problems, of course, and that is in particular because of the obsoleteness of the system. We also provided an additional control over the operation of our workers that are involved into our system as operators, and we have made sure that this system could only be accessed by a certified operator, and the mistakes, for example, can only be corrected by the designated operators. We also made sure that the chain of command is also followed through, so as to prevent any kind of chaotic misunderstandings, and we are making sure that the activity of the actors within the forestry sphere is tracked, and their actions can actually be verified post factum. And this ensures that the factual changes in the system are matching those that were stated by an operator when they were submitting the information into the system. Also, we made sure that our workers see the increase in their salaries, and we managed to increase them twofold. And we also initiated new initiatives in the legislation sphere, which concerns the risks and particularities of the operations in the forestry domain. We made sure that the new innovative and modern means are implemented, and techniques and methodology are implemented while transforming this industry. I am sure that our activities indeed make the further operations within the framework of the forestry more safer, more stable as well. So if any kind of information that is accounted for within this digital system of the forestry agency is thoroughly controlled, and any kind of actions that contradict the legal field, they are being observed, checked, and registered, and we are also making sure that there are concrete steps that are taken as a response. Thank you, Mr. Hamlet. Mr. Viktor, you said more than once. You mentioned more than once that the human factor was one of the main factors for anti-corruption within the Forestry Innovation and Analytical Agency. So if it was one of the main factors, what steps, what principles will constitute the new system? Well, as you may have understood from our discourse, our problems come not from the system as itself, but from the fact that the policy that existed before within this agency, it permitted deformation and deviation from the governmental policies. However, we made sure also including by means of implementation of the new digital system, that these things don't happen anymore. And we also can conclude that from the information that we already have available from the steps that we have implemented, that it is working and it is efficient. Also, we have a lot of feedback from the operators of the forestry who also praise the new system. However, what is going to happen? What changes are going to happen within the system, within this new system, digital system? So the main thing that we are aiming for is the scalability of the system. We would like a lot to, while developing and working on our system, that the operators of the industry, including the lumber users, would use this system. So what we are seeing right now is that they do utilize this system. They do utilize it during auctions, and after the state biddings are done, we are kind of losing the track of where the things are moving after the biddings were played out. What we would like to change is that we could use the new technologies, new methodologies, with a decentralized database utilization. That these things serve as an additional protection of the operators of the market, and this is why we are making focus on that. So, how how well is this system implemented right now? Well, it all depends. If we are talking about financial side of things, that, as you may know, there were some aid from the United States that was halted. It negatively, of course, it negatively affected our transformation and reformation of the sector. However, you asked if we have full financement of the system as of today. Yes, I would say that we do have enough financement. However, full implementation is to be expected in a year or year and a half. So you are saying that the human factor was one of the risk factors for the operation of the forestry agency. However, you are saying that the operators of the system are still to be changing and implementing and accessing the databases. Yes, indeed. However, we are using the separation of rights for the access of this database. There will be administrators in this system. There will be users who are submitting the applications. The information that is being submitted is digitalized and remains within the archive. So after that, if any kind of questions or issues arise, we can assign a service investigation whether this was legal or not. Any questions from the floor? Hello, I'm working for more than 30 years in the cybersecurity. I have a following question. A lot of money is being invested into the hardware by the government, but there is a human factor. And what I see as a human factor, I was talking to one of the government representatives recently, and we were talking about the emails that are being used by the government representatives, and they are all gmail.com addresses. So people, when they are working for the government, they're using this gmail.com. And when they quit this job, for example, they continue using this private email, and nobody is paying attention to this in our country. So what would you comment about it? Well, I would answer.
Well, we're using our protected secure servers. Some of our processes related to digitalization, they have the status of the complex secure information database. So when it comes to use of the outside services, we only use them only when they suggest better solutions in the market. For example, like corporate communication made by Microsoft. And in this case, Gmail, no matter how positively I treat it, we don't use it in our work. Thank you. Any more questions on the floor? Well, now that we have no questions, I would like to thank our guests. We were discussing the digital transformation of the forestry sector, and the Ukraine Media Center team is putting together the schedule for probably tomorrow. Thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for having us. Glory to Ukraine.